Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us as we get started. If you guys would jump into the chat box and let us know where you're listening from. We are here to talk to you tonight about boosting your pre-workout and your recovery nutrition. Looky there, Debbie from New York, Kansas. What else we got? Portland, Oregon, Springfield, Massachusetts. I bet it's cold up there. All right, guys, keep them coming. I'm going to start a little intro tonight of our extremely talented panelists. So we're going to start with Dr. Erin Nitschke. She is a health and human performance college professor. She's an industry writer for IDEA, Fitness Education Online, and U8.com, as well as a national presenter. She is certified by a multitude of agencies, including ACE. She's a fitness nutrition specialist. She's a therapeutic exercise specialist. She's a seasoned health and fitness exercise professional, and she has a passion for empowering individuals to live their healthiest, most vibrant lives. So welcome, Dr. Erin.
Thank you.
And then we have Danielle Ontiveros. She founded Grab the Gold in 1990 when you were 16 years old. I didn't know that. That's a new one to me. After creating a healthier snack alternative, she started with door-to-door sales in her New Orleans neighborhood. Her business grew and she overcame the challenges of losing her home to Hurricane Katrina in 2005. She relocated to Nashville, established Grab the Gold as a local brand in Nashville, and now operates out of Franklin, Tennessee, offering flexible jobs for veterans, single moms, and seniors. Well, look at everything I learned about Danielle there. Welcome, Danielle.
Okay.
And then we have Dr. Jonathan Mike, who has a PhD and currently teaches in the exercise science and sports performance program at Grand Canyon University in Phoenix. He's worked as a strength and conditioning coach and has contributed to dozens of online fitness, strength, and consumer outlets in the country. He's involved with NSCA and has served on numerous committees and special interest groups and has spoken at over 55 events, including NSCA, ISSN, and other organizations. Always glad to have you, Mike. Dr. Mike,
Thanks for
Dr.
having
John.
me. I should
What do
send
you
you
want
guys.
to?
I just say, Dr. John, I need to send you guys a updated bio because I'm way past 100 on those talks. I blew
Yeah,
past
that's
50.
what I was going to say. You're way past that.
Right. I'll send you guys a
And
new bio. Go ahead.
then we have Janie Roberts. She's the co-founder and co-CEO of Alignment Essentials, which is a health and wellness company spanning the fitness, self-improvement, and mindfulness spaces. She's the creator of the Warrior Workout, moving meditations, inspirational conversations, and all of the Alignment Essential programming content. Janie has over 40 years of experience in the health and fitness field. So thank you guys all for being here. I am not Sarah Cooperman. I am Melissa Lane. Sarah Cooperman is on a plane or getting off of a plane. I am going to host tonight, and I am a college professor at the University of North Georgia. I just hit year number 20 with them, and I've been with SCW for 17 years now. So we're very excited to be here. Remember where your chat box is. If you want to drop any questions in the chat box, we'll all be monitoring that and we'll be glad to help you out. But let's start with the first question that we want to talk about. And let's start with Erin and how we can personalize, or how can personalized pre-workout strategies enhance our energy and performance. Erin?
Thank you, Melissa. I always love this question because it really gives us an opportunity to drive home the point that nutrition is highly personal. What works for one person may not work for another individual, even though they might be doing the same activity. So it is highly personal, and you're going to need more fuel on certain days than you do on others. But with the pre-workout strategy, what it's designed to do is just to enhance energy and your performance by really aligning nutrient timing with the composition of those snacks or those meals. And it will help improve performance. That said, it's going to vary for each person. And it's also going to vary by the timing of the actual event or workout that you're going to do. If you're, working out first thing in the morning, you probably want something a little bit more easily digestible, lower in fiber, lower in fat. But if you're going to train, and it's 2 to 3 hours before your workout, you can have something a little bit more substantial and even a meal. So it's really important to keep in mind the composition and what it looks like. So for example, getting something that is high in fiber really close to the time that you need to perform or work out might cause some digestive upset. Another thing to keep in mind as well with personalized pre-workout is that the day of competition, or if you're starting something new, probably not the time to experiment with a pre-workout meal that you aren't used to, because again, that can cause some digestive stress. And we want to keep the meal composition timed or composed well as along with that timing, so that you're not eating a large meal right before you work out or 30 minutes before. When we do start to work out, that blood is shunted away from our systems, right? So that means that it's going out to your extremities, to your muscles. It's helping you move and helping you, get your performance going. So you don't want a giant meal sitting in your stomach that can cause nausea and it just all sorts of nasty things. So the day of a competition or the day of a new event or something like that, not the day to experiment. So I always advise that think about what it is that you don't react to and think about the timing. So if you're getting close to working out, maybe something like a half a banana with a little bit of protein, probably going to be a better option than a giant bowl of oatmeal with some flaxseed and, a scrambled egg, something like that, that's going to take a little bit more time to digest. So it really does align the performance goal with nutrient timing and the composition of those meals. And it's really important to keep that in mind, that sometimes it's trial and error. Of course, there are guidelines out there. All of us here can probably give some really great examples of, well, if you're going to work out in 2 to 3 hours, this is what your meal looks like. If it's closer to an hour, here are some examples. Doesn't mean that that's like going to work across the board for everyone. There are actually some clients that I've worked with in the past that literally cannot eat before they work out. They just feel miserable. So please understand, again, when we say personalized nutrition, it has to be tailored to you, to the individual, to your body, because not all of us are going to react the same way or perform the same way. But again, like, nutrition is highly personal. And I think sometimes we tend to forget that because we look at guidelines and we look at different recommendations and think that is exactly what I need to do to perform well. But again, it's so personal and our needs are going to vary from day to day. So it's totally normal and expected that you may not perform well if you follow a specific recommendation or you have this exact meal. So it is something that does require some experimenting, but again, not on the day of performance or competition. I have seen that go very badly.
Great advice for pre-workout. Let's go to post. So what role does nutrition play in optimizing recovery after intense workouts? Janie, you want to start that one?
Sure, I'll grab that. I just want to piggyback on Erin there. As a professional athlete, my husband would eat 5,000 calories, 3 hours, 2 hours, an hour before I could eat nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just want to say amen to that. So it really is so personalized. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's a privilege to be here. Again, personalized is everything. So in a nutshell, I just want to say about post, of course, it depends on what kind of workout you're doing, but let's just say that we're going to consider strength training here on some level in this scenario. Just understanding that you want to move between the catabolic and the anabolic state. You're breaking the muscle down, right? You're literally tearing it down. So this is why, as an athlete, I learned really quickly, and as a woman, because it does make a difference, right? We all burn differently. We all build differently. We all perform differently. And there is that hormone factor for us, not to say it's not there for the men, but I know the ladies feel me. This shift between the two is essential, and it needs to happen quickly, in my opinion, within a 15-minute window. It can be a game changer when you're trying to build. So this is why you will hear the basic teaching of, the nutrition is, if not more important, as equally important as your training, is equally important as your rest. And the average person will say, well, I got to get the workout in because that's what keeps me sane. And then I'll try to get the rest and I'll try to get the food right. And eventually you will figure out it doesn't work that way. And if you get really smart about it and you put the food first, everything else gets easier.
Mike, I'm sorry, Dr. Mike, John, I don't know why. I think because when I see you at conventions, I call you Dr. Mike. Sometimes I call you Mike. Anyway, John, do you want to emphasize some of the physiological changes that we need to see after resistance training due to our nutrition?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, first, thanks for having me on. A great topic, by the way. The whole there's two main premises of like post-workout like recovery. And when people talk about it, it's typically seen more as from a nutritional perspective, but you also have the training adaptations that go along with that. I mean, recovery in its sense, like post-workout, is to how quickly can your body get back to regular homeostasis, right? And that's just what are the traditional physiological adaptations that come with that. And a lot of those adaptations are going to be dictated by the type of training that you're actually doing, frequency, load, like volume, all that type of stuff. I mean, what are you actually really training for? Um, People don't realize like basic resistance training. I mean, not really for like athletes like me. I'm a former strongman competitor and even multi-sport athlete, earlier on in life. But your average person that goes to the gym like 3 or 4 days a week that does basic machines, dumbbells, like it, and I know this is going to sound odd, but that normal type of strength training really does not burn like a lot of calories, right?
Mm-hmm.
What it does is that it creates added lean muscle mass, so you can be in a better position for reducing disease risk across the board, both men and women. If you look at some of the numbers, health numbers. I mean, here in the United States, 45% of everyone is very overweight and obese. You look at the top risk factors for women, it's cardiovascular disease is still the number one risk factor for men, women, and most racial ethnic groups across the board. The top three for women are cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, and osteoporosis, all of which can be significantly reduced by lifting. Forget about the nutrition for a second. Those can all be significantly reduced just by lifting and creating a healthier, better lifestyle. As it relates back to the post-workout stuff, from a physiological perspective, it's to enhance protein synthesis and enhance glycogen replenishment. Now, since weight training in and of itself doesn't really expend a ton of calories, right? Typically, for most general population people, glycogen replenishment is not a main issue, right? It's a main issue for like ultra endurance, individuals and athletes that are out, 3-4 hours at a time, 5-6 days a week, where their caloric expenditure is very high, right? So therefore, the caloric intake has to be high as well, because their again expenditure is really high. They need the extra fuel. For most people, it's going to be more of like protein synthesis. Lifting in and of itself is not anabolic. It's actually more catabolic. The anabolic properties and components come after the training session, where the nutritional comes into play. This is protein. This is different type of macronutrient percentages. This is even recovery methods that people are utilizing. These could be, cold showers, massages, foam roller stuff, mobility work. I mean, obviously sleep, difference in, micronutrients, vitamins, all that type of stuff, antioxidants. They all play a role, some bigger than others. But that's typically what constitutes more of the post-workout strategies and recovery as it relates to adaptation and then training and nutrition.
And I think a lot of the research that we're seeing now, a lot of people are so worried about the anabolic window immediately afterwards. And the research that's coming out now shows it's basically getting your protein in throughout the day, unless you are a brand new exerciser. It's just getting the amount of protein, and only those that are new to resistance training have to worry about that specific anabolic window.
Yeah, well, there was a question, like I heard essential to have protein before and after workout, like for women, particularly within 1 hour. Okay, here's my answer to that. If you look at some of the more recent position statements of the ISSN, International Sports Science, International Sports Society, International Society of Sports Nutrition, sorry. They're in Florida every year. They have a great conference. It's all about nutrition and supplements. The prior view is that you have to get your protein in like, between 23 minutes and 37 minutes after workout. Otherwise, no one's going to like you and everyone's going to unfollow you and, all that type of shit. So that's really not the case. The real answer is that you can still even get a meal in, an hour after your workout. It's not this like small window of opportunity. It's really more like a large garage door, in terms of using, the proper analogies. But, and in terms of like timing, because I've talked a lot about, protein timing and like supplements before given presentations. Typically, in terms of athletes, as you become more experienced, the actual protein timing becomes less important versus the actual overall macronutrient and energy balance, equation. So as you become more highly trained, it's less about, oh, I have to get my protein in, 22 minutes after my workout. That becomes less important. What's more important, again, is overall macronutrient ratios and distributions and overall energy balance, but also having enough protein spread out throughout the day. And when I talk about this, people still look at me like I just, got dumped off from outer space or something. But when I tell like the general consensus is like protein with 1 gram per pound of body weight. Well, if you're 150 pounds, you should be about 150 grams of protein. And people look at me like I'm all, crazy and psycho. And I'm like, wait, well, slow down a second. If you have 3 or 4 meals a day, which even to this day, a lot of people don't do, that's only like 30 to 40 grams per meal. It's really not that difficult to get 30 to 40 grams per meal. I mean, a 6-ounce chicken breast has like almost 50 grams, if not 50, so, added with another meal or like a protein shake, right? So that's the overall general theme of how much protein you should be getting in per day. So it's actually more about the amount that you get in per day overall versus how much like per meal. Again, but if you only have 2 meals a day, then you need to have more protein per meal, right? So there's a little bit of a delicate balance there, is how many meals you're having per day and how much protein you should be getting per meal based upon, overall lean body mass, 1 gram per pound of body weight, or even you can do it via kg, for example. So like if I'm 270 pounds, and I'm like 125 kg, I have 200 plus grams on almost every single day. Now that's a little bit more challenging for somebody like myself because I weigh more versus somebody who might be like 150 pounds. I could tell you from experience and working with different types of people, it actually becomes easier over time when you start prioritizing it, and then you start to see actual visible results. Like, oh wow, like I'm actually getting a lot leaner. Like my clothes are fitting better. Like this is how it works.
Okay, that's some really good information because I think there are a lot of people that are so worried about their protein and getting it in that window, and the research is showing, yep, overall. Let's go from solid food to hydration. So how can proper hydration impact workout performance and recovery? Danielle, what if you start this one?
Okay. I know that most people don't like to drink water, and as people in the fitness industry, we're always mentioning water and pushing water, and it is really, really important. If your body's made up of water, you need that water to carry your blood. You need it to carry your oxygen. This is really important. All of your body's made up of electricity. All these functions are requiring water, but it's so easy to become dehydrated and not even realize it. And in fact, like one of the things, like when we think we're hungry, drink water first, that may be the signal that we relate to the most is hunger. But when you're even slightly dehydrated, you can have up to 10% less performance. And that could be like 2% strength, 3% less power, 10% actual endurance for strength and intense workouts. So I know that, again, like there's people who they can't drink right before they work out because they'll have like sloshy belly, they're not able to do that. And then there's some people who can just drink right before and keep drinking all throughout. So I think it's really important, if you know that you're a person who doesn't like to drink right before a workout, especially if it's a lot of jumping or plyometrics or, you know, that type of thing. Even start hydrating 2-3 hours earlier. If you're a person who wakes right up out of sleep and you're a person who likes to hit the workout right away, it's even more important to drink something because you're coming out of hopefully 8 hours of rest, maybe only 5, maybe only 4, but you're still coming out of this period where you haven't drank anything. So it's really important to drink what you can. And if you're a person who is not able to drink a lot before a workout, even, you know, make sure you add lemon. You can also try and add like branched chain amino acids. This is getting into supplementation, but branched chain amino acids to help with your energy and endurance. If you're a person who uses caffeine pre-workout, that's a consideration. Some people cannot. It's really all individual, kind of like Erin was saying with nutrition and food. But there are things that you can also add to your water to help you with your energy, endurance, your performance, your recovery. Magnesium is something that people even think about taking after for sleep or for after a workout. But if you're a person who cramps a lot, you can even take it a couple hours before your workout. There's also considerations with magnesium, but that's just it can cause you, if you take too much or you're not used to it, to run to the bathroom. So that's maybe not a great thing before a long workout, or you could have stomach upset. So again, I think Erin had said this, is really be aware if you're doing something new, you're doing something a longer endurance, it's competition, you know, we don't want to interrupt or change your habits. But I would say whatever amount of water you are drinking, try more before, even some during and some after. Because if you just even 2 to 5% less endurance, energy, strength, it's huge. And that could definitely change the way that you're feeling, especially post-workout. If you feel really tired, it could be a hydration issue as well. Of course, talked about nutrition, and there's so many factors. One of the things that I really feel that's important is to change, when you change something, maybe make a note of it. If you have a log or you want to mark it down in your phone, you have an app somewhere. If you're a spreadsheet person, go for it. But it's really important when you make a change then to realize how you're feeling afterwards, because it's so easy to be like, oh, I killed that workout. That was great. I hope it's that good next time. But what did you do before? You know, some days we're just like in the zone. It's awesome workout. We killed it. You felt great. You felt great after. You just had a great time. But what was leading up to that? Like the night before sleep, what did you drink? What did you eat? What were your habits? So those things are important to realize. And if you're changing a lot of things or your routine is different, it could be multiple things. So that's why I say writing down those things that you do and don't do. What you don't do is just as important. I didn't drink last night, or, you know, whatever you didn't do is important to realize, because it's just being conscious of what's going on. And then you can start to see the effects of how it is affecting your body, whether it's the endurance during your workout or your recovery.
Excellent. As coaches in self-improvement and personal trainers, Janie, if you had to tell your people just one thing about how to encourage drinking more water, what would the one thing be that you would give as a little tip to help your clients make sure they get their hydration in?
Try to make this short. So one of the things that's really important from our perspective when we train is that, you know, and I'm trying to, I loved what you just said, Danielle, because it was very applicable to people, you know, like this is simple. Okay. 'Cause we have to keep this simple. Dr. John was just talking about this, like it just gets so complicated before we got on. And so one of the things that we talk about with the water in the beginning is also we're trying to find a baseline for people, right? Like where are they in their baseline of their health right now? Because that's a big deal, and in their training, right? But you know, so many people come to us and say, I want to look like, and my circle back is always like, that's great. We can pretty much get you to that one way or the other, depending on how committed you're willing to be. But what I want to know is how you feel. So this ties into the tired, and I'm, you know, and we do have to talk about the bathroom, and water is a big deal there, and fiber is a big deal there, and we need to be getting, there's controversy around this as well, but like let's just say 30 grams of fiber, it'll change your life. if you can do that, which means you're going to have to eat more green leafy and you're going to have to get more real food, not boxes and bags, like real food. And most people don't know what that is, you know, really, really. So most people are just buying and eating, consuming a lot of not real food. I don't know how else to say that. Stuff that's just not just processed, but it's literally not bioavailable to the body. And we're not absorbing our nutrients. And part of the reason we're not absorbing our nutrients is because our body isn't clean and the wall of the intestine is not, the absorption sites aren't functioning properly. Things just aren't getting where they need to go. And if they are, they might be like leaky gut can be, there's so many different things. But if you can get the water in and anything, my basic tip, I'm really trying, is anything that's got a calorie in it is not water. Okay, so just think of your water as like herbal tea and water, but there's nothing else in your water. I'm not saying you can't do that. You can't do pre, post, whatever. I'm just saying when you're looking at your water, look at it as just that. Okay, because once the calories are there, the body deals with it a bit differently. So, and then the other like piece of that would be caffeine. Okay, because we see so much with the adrenal glands and the damage that's done with caffeine, and people, I mean, we used to drink coffee when I was a kid, but damn, people be serious about their caffeine today, you know, and for every 8 ounces of caffeine you drink, you need add 8 more ounces of water. You got to wash it out. So if you're slamming caffeine drinks all day long, Celsius, whatever, you need more water. And that's not real. Your body, you know, vitamins, minerals.
So I think that's a great lead in to supplements. And we have a question.
Conversation.
We have a question about what types of supplementation are most effective for HIIT and fasted cardio. And I think that gets a little too specific. So I'm going to ask that maybe we all just start with one supplement. And Erin, what if you jump on first? And what do you think is the supplement that is most popular out there that maybe people have some misunderstanding about? And then we can all just hit one supplement.
Okay. So I think, yeah, you're right. That's too specific. And the supplement conversation could go on for hours and hours and days because there's so much to it, right? And it's super interesting. I think because I had the pre-workout question, like one of the things that I see is people getting very connected to a pre-workout, like a prefabbed pre-workout that's got the, you know, beta alanine and it's got caffeine and it's got some kind of sugar alcohol. So I think that that's something that people get really attached to. And I tend to take the food first approach and then smart supplementation. So what is the need for the supplement? Have we established that there is an actual need for it by understanding if you have a deficiency in something? Sometimes just a good old snack and a little bit of caffeine can be a real effective pre-workout. So I think beta alanine is one that kind of people take as a gospel, that I've got to have that or my performance is going to be garbage. And we know that's not true, right? There are so many factors that go into quality performance, but that is definitely one that I think is super popular. I see it all the time. And people are jamming it into their coffee and their pre-workouts and making sure that I'm going to spend all this money on this type of thing because it's got the beta alanine, and they think it's like a magic. I mean, no doubt it's useful, but I think we can take it too far, right? And think that it's going to be the answer to all our performance issues, when maybe there's something we need to look under the hood and see, like, what's the food first approach, and are you getting these balanced nutrients? Are you getting all of your essential amino acids in and your non-essentials? Are you balancing macro wise your plate, and are you getting in like the fiber component too? So I think we can kind of take it a little too far.
Erin, I would bet that there's probably people listening that don't understand why beta alanine has been proven to be effective. So can you very quickly give us the rundown on what happens to beta alanine in your body and why people are taking it?
So I think the biggest thing is to state it simply, like, it's all about energy and boosting energy. And so taking that can have a performance effect. And when it's taken with caffeine, it boosts that effect. And I think there are some really interesting studies out there that do point to, well, this group took the beta alanine or took the pre-workout that was with these types of things, and then this group did not, and this group performed better. So it is an energy component, without going into too much of like the full on, like, let's break down the chemical reaction in the body. But it is an energy component and can be effective, but it doesn't need to be taken in large doses. And you can still get a great performance in without it. It's not a make or break. And I think sometimes that's the message that gets lost is if I don't take this, I'm not going to perform well.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Mike, but beta alanine is a precursor to carnosine, and carnosine is going to take care of the acidity in my body when my intensity gets high.
Okay, yeah, so good question. I mean, I liked what Aaron had to say. And it's always important to sometimes, like, we're so used to talking like on higher levels, and then it's also important to kind of break it down on a very elementary, scale so people can understand. Beta alanine comes from carnosine, and most of it is actually found in higher threshold, motor units, or like the type 2 types of motor units. Its main premise is to help delay any type of onset of fatigue and almost like enhance like time trial type of performance. Now, this could be in resistance training, like, and in endurance performance. Now, I would say a beta alanine is almost in every single pre-workout that you see on the market. It's almost in every single one of them. Like, literally 99.9% of pre-workout supplements have beta alanine in them. It does work, and it's very effective. But here's what people don't really talk about, because when I was teaching, and I've also given like supplement presentations, if you're familiar with how creatine actually works, right? So physiologically and mechanistically, it adds, you got the breakdown of ATP, you have ATP, ADP, AMP, inorganic phosphate, and then energy. Creatine basically adds phosphate groups back onto that ADP in order to replenish ATP at a higher rate, so you can perform at a higher rate and basically have more horsepower and more torque, with your training. Beta alanine actually does the exact same thing. However, the main differences are timing and dose. Okay? The timing with beta alanine, and creatine doesn't really have much of a time component. Like, you can take it at 9 a.m. and you can work out at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, as long as you're not doing any type of super high intensity stuff, like, you'll still have enough saturation. The thing with beta alanine is that you got to take it every day for about 28 to 30 days straight in order to see some type of, an effect, right? So that's one difference. The other difference is dose. There's somewhat of a similar dose with terms of creatine and beta alanine. Creatine is obviously the 5 grams. Beta alanine is somewhere like in the 4.2, 4.3, upwards of 6 grams per kg. There's a slight difference in terms of dose. Here's the interesting part about beta alanine. And a lot of those, I said a few seconds ago, almost every single pro workout has some type of beta alanine in it. However, you will hardly ever see the dosage of beta alanine in those pre-workout supplements above 3. Okay. Even though I can tell you hands down, the vast majority of studies looking at beta alanine in terms of the higher magnitude of effect is going to be between 5 and 6 grams. Those pre-workouts won't have anything over 3. And the reason is because of what's called the paresthesia effect, like this kind of the tingling on your fingers and like the back of your neck. Nobody really knows what causes it. It's still fairly unknown, but it goes away within an hour post-exercise, and it's completely harmless. So you take that component and then you apply it to the business and marketing aspect. Well, if you have customers that are feeling a bunch of tingling with 5-6 grams of beta alanine, they're going to be like, what the hell? They're going to think something's wrong. They may not buy the product. Some companies may get sued, just something like that, right? So that's why beta alanine is not going to see more than 2.5 to 3 grams. So those are the biggest differences in terms of beta alanine and creatine. Both do the exact same thing in the body physiologically, right? But you have to take beta alanine for a longer period of time, for about a month every day, to start seeing some noticeable differences and a slightly higher dose.
Good stuff. Janie, you talked about caffeine earlier. Would that be your supplement of choice that
No.
you? people use, but
No,
not a tool you see people
I'm the
use.
oldest person here. So when I was an athlete, things were a little bit different. And my education is in nutrition, and I've been working with a physician who, 12 years of school and then went back to become a naturopath. So we approach things quite differently. I'm very aware, but no, I do not encourage it. Because I understand what happens with adrenals and people are going to do it anyway. So I don't encourage it. People are really dehydrated, like beyond dehydrated, and they don't realize it. It's like you're thirsty or you're already dehydrated. So I'm always looking at I work with athletes, I have some competitors, but I just keep it super clean with them. And of course they do use some caffeine, but I do not encourage it. I just try to keep them as healthy as possible and as competitive as possible. And they do quite well. They do very, very well. But it takes the pattern, like Erin was talking about, to me is fascinating because I'm always thinking of the psychology of this. So people you're like so on it, right? You only have to walk in the gym and people are like, I cannot work out if I don't have this drink. Like I'm dragging my ass in here. So, and it's like, okay, well, we need to stop right here and talk about why that's happening.
Mm.
Why are you so tired? Why are you coming in here? Like, I'm also a shamanic practitioner. And so it's like the whole picture for me, and not everybody can do that with their clients. But if you're not a trainer and you're not doing this as this is your business, but you are someone who is doing it for you, then my encouragement to you would be, what we don't know, we don't know. And a lot of these products are young. And there are a lot of things that we used to do that we absolutely don't do anymore, not only from a supplemental and nutrition perspective, but from a training perspective. And we were so smart and so right back in the day, and we just keep getting smarter, right? So there's a lot of things that we don't know yet. So I would just encourage people to cleanse their body. That's absolutely key. When I first start working with someone, I want to know they're even absorbing what they're eating.
Mm.
And then watch their energy levels, watch their balance in their life. What is the questions for me are, what do you do, and how much do you love it? On a scale from 1 to 10, how stressful is your job? Is it good stress or bad stress? Because your body doesn't necessarily know the difference, right? And it's the same thing with supplements. It's either a food or it's not. So your body can either take it in and deal with it, or it can't. And so, it's not necessarily that black and white. Some is easier than others, but it feels like when Erin was talking, I could sense that it's when people are looking for a shortcut.
Yeah, definitely.
They're just looking for a shortcut. And I'm sorry, but if you're coming into the gym and you're 30 years old and you're exhausted, we need to have a different conversation.
Danielle, let's go ahead and get your take on a supplement that you find interesting that people are taking, and then we can jump back and answer Debbie's question.
I find this conversation and these different perspectives so interesting. I find myself nodding along. Of course, one of the things that I really like, and I go along with what Janie's saying about energy. I have dealt with low energy for a lot of my life, but then I also work a lot and don't do the self-care that's so popular right now. As women too, we tend to put other things, everyone and everything before ourselves. So that's just another thing as far as recovery, to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. One supplement that I do like is D-ribose, and I like it because it's helps your energy naturally. It's not caffeine. It doesn't come on strong. It's something that you don't really notice, you don't taste, but it helps increase your energy, your endurance, your performance at a cellular level by encouraging the production of ATP in your cells. And it also helps reduce your recovery time and your muscle soreness. So I find it's good you don't really use it as a pre-workout. Like, it's not like you're going to take it like in caffeine and you're going to feel something right then. It's something you can supplement with every day. And it just has a cumulative effect. It's not like I need to take this 30 minutes before my workout and there it is. So I have some every day and sip on that in my water. And I have noticed a even energy, like less kind of chronic fatigue feeling. And I would just say, kind of going back to what Erin had said, where she's like, sometimes just like a little sip of caffeine, like maybe like a little sip of coffee and a little snack, a little bite of something. Seriously, like sometimes all you need is food, water. It doesn't have to get complicated. And what I mean, really, you can do anything that you put your mind to, right? So if you're looking for the quick fix, the supplement, the hack, or whatever, it's right here. It's between your ears, right? So yes, eat and drink properly. Whenever you think that you've had enough water, I guarantee you have not, right? And like I think Janie even said, like the baseline, right? So how much do you drink now? If you're like, oh, well, I heard you're supposed to drink this many ounces per pound of body weight and whatever, right? What are you drinking now? Like realistically, like actual water. Are you drinking, how many ounces are you drinking? Don't just waterlog yourself and say, I gotta go. Okay, yeah, of course, yeah. Of course, but like I was just gonna say, you don't have to go around with a gallon and like chugging it all of a sudden, like you're gonna, wash out all your electrolytes, but just encourage yourself to do a little better, a little better, a little better every day. It's about the small, consistent steps that lead up to new habits. If you sit there and just all of a sudden think you're just gonna drink tons of water, that's not sustainable. And that's a huge shock to your system and your habits. Just drink some more water every day, drink some more water every hour, and sneaky water, just have it next to you, keep sipping, right?
So I think that brings us, Danielle, to the next question. If you just want to wrap up hydration by answering Debbie's question, is it better to drink water separate from meals, or is it okay to sip throughout to avoid dehydration? I think we can quickly answer this.
Yes, I would say drink from the time you wake up. I have a glass of water right beside my bed. First thing I do before I get out of bed, I drink half that glass. And by the time I go to the bathroom, I come back, I drink that other glass or the rest of the glass. As far as sipping throughout meals or before meals, that would be a question for a nutritionist if it dilutes the digestive enzymes. But I'm a firm believer in just keeping it rolling.
Erin, what's your answer to that?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. One of the things that I encourage with clients is just slow sips. Sip slowly, sip often. And make sure that you aren't just chugging it all at once. Like you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh, I've had 2 glasses of water. I'm just going to slam this 32 ounces. That's not comfortable. So just sip throughout the day. I absolutely agree with Danielle. Like it's a good habit to get into. I also encourage before you enjoy like a beverage of some kind that's caffeinated, let's get some water on board. Throw some lemon in it. Anything like crystallized lemon is really great. It's a great option to just flavor it if water isn't something that you naturally enjoy, because, well, it doesn't really taste like anything. So yeah, I say sip often and sip slowly.
Okay, we've got another question about how does fasted cardio affect fat loss and what precautions should be taken? And I think this is where the answer, it depends, comes in a lot, because people's body can adapt to what you do. So you can adapt to doing fasted cardio. But Dr. Mike and I were having a conversation before that there's a big difference between fat mobilization and fat utilization. And just because you mobilize and just because you utilize doesn't mean that you're going to lose weight, because you have to be in a caloric deficit. So most of the research says that fasting cardio doesn't in the long run do anything to your body composition. Is fat mobilized when you are in a fasting state? Possibly, but you have to look at the muscle glycogen that is stored. What was your last meal? How intense was your last workout? So Mike, you want to bring that to a close before we do our last question?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good topic. I mean, the fasted cardio, people still do it. I mean, there's um, individuals who they do their workout, fasted, and they think it's like, Jesus Christ, for some odd reason. It's like they think it's the far superior thing. And like chronically speaking, in terms of long-term results, like it's not superior at all. In fact, I would actually put it either to no difference or maybe even inferior. But the difference is the whole physiologically speaking, anything fasted, and everybody fasts really by default. I mean, typically during sleep anyway, but you could do obviously different variations of intermittent fasting. But the whole purpose of really fasting is the idea is to enhance fat utilization by keeping insulin response low, right? Because that's the whole reason, one of the main reasons why you have like type 2 diabetics, is because the insulin response is typically very elevated chronically speaking, versus getting into the blood versus getting into the muscle during exercise. Different topic, but the whole purpose of fasted cardio, the idea is to enhance fat utilization during exercise. However, people forget that it really depends on the type of exercise that you're doing, the duration and or intensity. If you're doing just type of slow walking on the treadmill, yeah, you could do fasted cardio, no problem. But you move up to higher echelons of exercise intensity, you're going to need more fuel source. And where does that fuel source comes from? It comes from glucose and glycogen, right? Which is really the only molecule that can supply high intensity demand very quickly. It's kind of like your ATM machine, in a sense, like fast cash. So that's something that people need to keep in mind, but also the individual response to how people, respond to whether it's cardio. And typically, in terms of precautions taken, I mean, people think fasted cardio is only one form of cardio. Like there's not. There's like dozens and dozens of different forms of cardio. I mean, this could be, treadmill, this could be intervals, this could be elliptical, this could be battle ropes, this could be, walking up hills, like, whatever it is. I mean, any type of you can strength train fasted if you wanted to. Don't recommend it by any means, because you're really not gonna make you're not gonna make it that far. But that's the whole purpose of like fasted cardio in terms of fat loss, fat mobilization, fat utilization. They are different. If you look at the lower intensity that you train at, you'll have a higher percentage of fat used. However, the long game and what you really want to shoot for is overall caloric expenditure and a caloric deficit, right? So you got the short game and then you got the long game. Everybody has long-term goals with a short-term mind. Okay. You need long-term goals with a long-term mind. So the end game and the long game is caloric deficit and caloric expenditure. And that's where you can talk about some like the body recomposition, aspects, which there's some really great position stands for ISSN talking about body recomposition. Essentially, it's building lean body mass and over time dropping body composition at the exact same time, which is very effective and typically tends to work better on people that are more highly trained, say like the advanced or elite individuals versus someone who's just starting out like 6 months, a year or so, with resistance training.
Okay, we are down to the final few minutes and we have one more question left. So what if we do this? We've got 1 minute for your specific recovery technique that can help minimize muscle soreness after high intensity training. Very short and sweet and to the point. Janie, what's your favorite recovery technique?
My favorite is I use Qigong. So we do a wringing out process and we work through the meridians. So it's stretching. It would be a form in that particular genre that I use. It would be a form of stretching. Such a big question, like all of these, but what I find there is we're just able to like wring out the organs, wring the fascia, just kind of really like complete moving the chi. So there's a cleansing and a clearing at the end of that. And I always use breath work with it. So
Excellent. Danielle, your favorite recovery technique?
I love deep, slow breathing and stretching, not any kind of particular way, just letting your body move. Not exactly like just so specific, but just letting yourself fall and stretch and reach and bend while moving. And if you're super sore, I really like a magnesium and Epsom salt bath with that's just amazing. Add some essential oils and just soak for a while. Really helps, get into your muscles by osmosis. That's lovely. But what I'll say about the just breathing and moving and stretching, how your body, you're really getting into feeling how your body is, where the resistance is, as opposed to just, oh, I'm doing a hamstring stretch. I'm stretching this part of my body. I'm stretching that part. Have like a somatic experience and be able to feel your body moving and be in touch with your body, because we're so often mental when we're working out, when we're exercising, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing that many reps. Let your body flow and feel it, and let it tell you where it wants to move and how it wants to stretch and where it needs care.
I love the phrase somatic experience. So good. Erin, what's your favorite recovery technique?
So I really like to do a couple mindfulness with like some gentle yoga poses afterwards, just to try to get us back into the parasympathetic state, especially after that high intensity exercise versus just stopping and sitting down and stretching. I like to just slow the momentum a little bit, do a few yoga poses, maybe reflect on the intention that my client set or I set at the beginning of my workout. And then again, that breathing work, like just breathing in and exhaling for a little bit longer and ending a session that way.
Excellent. Dr. Mike?
Yeah, a combination of things. I don't know if it's like they're all important, that type of thing. But I really like the mobility work post exercise, especially for lower body. I mean, upper body too. I would say to a degree, colder showers or maybe some, colder ice baths. Like again, like it's not every day for, 10 minutes, but something like maybe, 45 seconds, leading up to like maybe 1 or 2 minutes a couple of times a week. Omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and I mean sleep for sure, but and even higher amounts of protein intake.
Excellent. Very good. I was waiting to see if we had any questions that were going to appear in the chat box nothing about supplements and nothing about recovery. So if I had to ask in 30 seconds to bring it home with your closing thought, all you have is 30 seconds. Let's start from the back. Dr. Mike, you're up first. Close on nutrition, recovery, pre-work, whichever one you want.
I think you need a smart strategy for sure. I think you need to get a little bit more educated in terms of knowing some of the basic science, how these supplements actually work in terms of the basic physiology, like their effectiveness and how you may respond, to certain ones because everybody has different response rates and magnitude. I think people need to do a little bit more research instead of saying, I heard this, I heard that. I mean, there's no shortage of information out there like at all. And if you have questions about anything, send me an email, send me a DM, and I'll get back to you. And because I always respond. So.
Erin?
So I would say, again, nutrition is highly personal, and it is okay to experiment with things, just not on race day, on competition day, and really tune into how your body responds and how you perform following some sort of pre-fueling strategy. And I think a food first approach followed by smart supplementation. And by that, I mean, is it needed? Or are you taking it because you heard it?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, be smart about it and take a food first approach.
Excellent. Danielle?
Drink your water. Drink your water. I mean, if you want to increase your energy, your endurance, your performance, your recovery, water's where it's at. Super simple. It was given to us. It's on this earth. It's free, mostly. Not all the time, but it's free. It's clean. It's tasteless. I know people say, I don't like to drink it. the thing is, it doesn't taste like anything. Drink it. You don't have to have everything flavored. You don't have to have everything special. You don't have to have everything double, triple, this, whatever. I don't know, berry flavor. It doesn't have to do anything. This right here is so simple, and it will do everything that you need it to do. The other thing I would say is start with the very basics. Look, you know what you're doing, and you know what you're not doing. You know if you're sleeping well, if you're skipping meals, if you're eating crappy food, you know these things. And so drink your water, pick one thing that you want to change that you've taken from today maybe, or something you're not doing that you really ought to be doing for your body, for your health. And there's one thing that you are doing that you should stop, right? Whatever that is. So I would say go ahead and do one thing that you already know, and stop doing one of those things and see how it changes your workouts.
Excellent. And Janie.
All right, I would say take a breath
Mhm.
and take some time. This isn't a race.
Mhm.
People believe mostly, I think we all know, if you're here as a professional in the industry or as a consumer, that people believe that what they want is mostly in how they're going to look, when it's really ultimately going to be all about how they feel. Because when people feel great, they look great, and everything falls into place. So we've got to get the mind-body connection going and keep it real. So find and connect with someone and always continue your education. I've learned so much here tonight. I'm so grateful. There's so much to learn, but go slow, take your time, and get to know how your body works, because it's not like anybody else's. And no trainer has all the answers for you. It doesn't matter how much data they have. They can't feel what you feel in your body. So the more comfortable you get with that, and the more you trust that and you build that, then you can communicate to your trainer. But this is okay. And then it just makes it so much easier. And you'll also know if it's a match. But yeah, just keep it clean, keep it real, keep it honest. And you don't need all the bells and whistles. Like, you don't need all the brands. Food is food, and you need real food.
Excellent. Those were some great last words. Thank you, guys. And thanks to everybody who jumped on tonight. And hopefully we will see you next month. I think we're talking about weight loss drugs. So everybody have a very happy holiday. Thank you, panelists, so much. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.